The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
And
thegorillaposition.com, telling the stories of pro wrestling storytellers.
welcome to another episode of Turnbuckle Talk, powered by thegorillaposition.com and a proud part of the Roar Network. So presented by the Hitting the Marks Podcast Network. We're sponsored by collarandelbowbrand.com, where you can get 10% off when using promo code JKPodcast at the checkout. Also in partnership with hypecityvapors.com, where you can get 15% off all your e-juice for your vape by using promo code JKPodcast. Please welcome our newest sponsor, Silly Rabbit Vape Shop, located in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada. Mention Turnbuckle Talk for a discount on all your vape juice and hardware. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching at TB Talk Pod. You can listen to the podcast, of course, on Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcasts, CastBox. The list goes on and on. As always, I am Big Joe.
And I'm Carl Carafel.
All right, Carl, another week has come and gone in the world of professional wrestling.
A big week has come and gone in the world of professional wrestling. A big week, I would say, solely for the WWE, whether it is pay-per-view, whether it is stuff that could be possibly going wrong, but seems to be a lot revolving around stuff with the WWE happening lately.
For sure, but before we get to our WWE stuff, there is some other wrestling stuff to talk about, and I think probably one of the bigger pieces of news coming out of this past week since we recorded last time is, of course, having to do with Impact and AXS TV.
Yes, for those of you that don't know, Impact Wrestling is actually owned by a company called Anthem Entertainment. And what has happened here is that Anthem has actually purchased a majority share or majority stake in AXS TV. So what does that mean, Big Joe, for Impact and AXS TV as of this point?
It's I think the way to kind of approach this is this is more to do with AXS TV and Anthem. Yes, it does affect Impact, but you have to keep in mind too, AXS TV, when you look at them as opposed to the Pursuit channel, I mean, they get to more homes, but it's a bit of a better platform. But this is more about, like I said, Anthem and AXS. Now, as Canadian wrestling fans, this is slightly encouraging because this means that possibility of maybe AXS TV coming to Canada finally.
It is a possibility. I don't know if you have heard the news yet or not, but Impact is moving to AXS TV. Mm-hmm. So for Impact, that's huge. And I mean, yes, we're talking about Anthem Sports, and we're talking Anthem Sports or Anthem Sports Entertainment, and then we're talking, because they own Impact Wrestling as well. I think I don't even care about Anthem. This is huge for Impact right now, and especially huge because Anthem is a Canadian company. Mm-hmm. Impact is a Canadian company. And now, hopefully, as you mentioned there, the possibility of AXS TV being brought over to be showcased in Canada. For me, anyways, that would be amazing because not only does AXS TV do stuff like professional wrestling, but I am a huge music lover and I'm a huge fan of rock and metal. And for those of you that don't know, I have been to a couple of the Rock on the Ranges from Columbus, Ohio when they happened. Yeah. And AXS TV usually has a bunch of stuff happening at those festivals. And one year they actually recorded a number of different performances from Rock on the Range and broadcast them onto AXS TV. So if it does come to Canada, I will be so happy because that's something that I have wanted for a long time. Mm-hmm. We're getting away from the age of like MTV and Much Music showing these concerts, but yet AXS TV brings it to us.
For sure. And of course, now there's the possibility we could see a little bit of New Japan Pro Wrestling because that is on AXS TV. Now, because of that possibility there too, that's raised up a really odd thing that's been kind of going around social media and wrestling fans on the internet and Facebook and whatnot, that, this means that Anthem, that means that they're going to buy a Ring of Honor now. That is just not a possibility that's even remotely true.
That's right. I mean, for those of you that don't know, Ring of Honor is actually owned by Sinclair Broadcasting.
Yeah.
Sinclair Broadcasting is probably one of the biggest underground companies that there is.
Yeah.
You don't really hear a lot about them, but man, they are huge.
Yeah, for sure. And what Ring of Honor is worth to them and what they would be possibly willing to sell it for is just more than anybody would want to fork over, WWE included.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the only thing for Ring of Honor right now, I mean, don't get me wrong, I feel that they're still putting out a great product, but for most of these other companies that want to come in to maybe buy something from Ring of Honor, it would only be for tapes. Yeah. That's it. It would be for old stuff from years ago, footage of some of these stars that have gotten to be bigger and gone to these different companies, even stars that have gone over to Impact and stuff like that. I think that's all that it would really want to be for. Mm-hmm. Would it ever happen? I don't think so, because I think Sinclair Broadcasting would really ask for way too much for the company. And reason being is because they don't want to lose that.
Yeah, it's cheap syndication that they can put out all over the place. And yeah, I don't foresee that ever possibly happening. It's just it's something that people have been all crazy about. And yeah, it's not happening, folks.
No, I don't believe so either.
Let's put it that way. All right, so let's get to what I guess could possibly be our main attraction for this week, Clash of Champions. Carl, before we dissect it and analyze it and all that, just general feelings about the show in general.
I will give it a rating of a B+, actually.
Okay.
From people that have been messaging me, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those social media sites at TB Talk Pod. Mm-hmm. I've been getting a lot of messages, even personal messages from friends and stuff who have been kind of saying that they were a little disappointed in this pay-per-view.
Yep.
Myself, I wasn't disappointed in quality per se. Was I disappointed in some outcomes? Yes. But did the WWE kind of turn things around at certain points? Yes, as well they did. So for me, a B+ show. And I mean, let's get your take on it, and I'm sure we're going to delve right in.
Yeah, for me, I will say I'm not disappointed, but I'm not enthralled either. I'll say I'm somewhere. I'm going to be in the C to B if I had to give it a kind of a letter, kind of a grade overall. Okay. Good solid show, but I felt that there were some drop balls. But we'll definitely get into that. So
yes,
pre-show we had Drew Gulak versus Humberto Carrillo. I'm probably saying his name incorrectly, and Lince Dorado from the Lucha House Party. This is what you would expect out of a triple threat cruiserweight match in WWE. Went about 10 minutes. And yeah, Drew Gulak still a champion.
Yeah, I mean, nothing real spectacular coming out of this. I mean, I would have hoped for a little bit more, considering it is the cruiserweights, and they could have done a little bit more cruiserweight style, I guess you could say. But then again, we have to remember Drew Gulak is in that match, and Drew Gulak is one of these. His character is a person that says, no top rope, no high flying. Let's get back to professional wrestling. So I get it. I kind of understand. Decent match. I mean, I can't say anything too bad about it.
No.
Drew Gulak coming out as champion again. I'm happy with that, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that when I watched that match, one of the things that kind of stand out to me is, again, I'm probably going to say his name wrong, but I'll just use his first name, Humberto. That kid has kind of a little bit of a spark kind of going on there. I think given the right platform, that he could have an interesting run there, given the opportunity.
He definitely can, and I believe that this was actually his kind of little showcase.
Yeah.
Kind of putting himself out there and being allowed to show the people what he actually is made of and what he can do. Did he go out there and do that? Yeah, I think he really did. He went out there. He had all the points. He did everything as he should. Everything looked good from what I could see anyways. And yeah, I mean, I was happy with his performance.
Mm-hmm. So next up we had, I gotta say this is going to be one of my more kind of down, more weird type of moments in the show. We had on the pre-show, that's correct, on the pre-show for the United States Championship, AJ Styles versus Cedric Alexander. AJ on the pre-show. Didn't see that coming. I don't think I called that. I don't know if you would have called that, Carl.
I didn't see this being on the pre-show either. Do I get it? Yep. You know what? I do get it because, I mean, we had the Cruiserweight and then we had the United States Championship on the pre-show. I get it because they're trying to put a lot more emphasis on the Intercontinental Championship, right? They're trying to put more emphasis onto this women's tag team championship. I mean, really, from the list that's here, I mean, maybe you could have done the SmackDown tag team,
that would have been my pick,
on the pre-show. But even then, like, the two names that are there with the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, yeah, like, I mean, even those two names, like, you're looking the New Day, right? And then people are going to be mad because the New Day was, you know, on the pre-show, and then I mean, it's really hard. Yeah, especially somebody who's going out there and trying to book this show to really try to figure out who is relegated to pre-show, I guess.
They should have just had one pre-show match. Did everything else on the main card.
They could have, but I mean, again, I come back to what's the pre-show? The pre-show is the build-up to the main show. So if you, as somebody who has not watched the product in a while, or somebody who has never watched the product, went out there and only saw the Cruiserweight Championship on an hour-long pre-show, would that have hooked you to get the pay-per-view?
This particular pre-show, I will say not so much.
Okay.
Not so much.
So adding in one of the top-tier names within the company, AJ Styles, a name that I feel at least is pretty much a household name for those who have, you know, seen anything professional wrestling.
Yep.
So then you have AJ Styles on the pre-show. Then I'm going to be calling up my buddies going, dude, AJ Styles happening right now. You need to watch this match. That's what's going to hook them into buying the pay-per-view or ordering the WWE Network.
Yeah.
Whatever. Right. So I get it. I do. Do I? It's so hard. It's so hard because, I mean, the New Day could have done the same.
Yep.
Right. I get that. But I don't know. I think AJ Styles was a better choice to have as that last match on the pre-show going into the main show. Yeah. Was it too short? Yeah. Yeah, it was way too short of a match.
I was just going to get to that. We mentioned this company earlier, Ring of Honor. We have AJ Styles and Cedric Alexander, two real standouts from their times in Ring of Honor. High octane, you know, good length matches. Less than 5 minutes of a match. They had the second shortest match of the evening, which we'll get to the shortest one. But two, and it looked like they were pushing Cedric Alexander too. And of course, AJ, as you mentioned, a household name. You know, relegated to a pre-show match under 5 minutes. I would not have, like I said, wouldn't have called that. And it felt really odd to me overall.
Yeah, I mean, having it only less than a 5 minute match for me was odd. Everything else, really not so much odd. I mean, seeing AJ on a pre-show, I totally get it. I mean, I gave, you know, my feelings on that just a few minutes ago. But yeah, I mean, I wish the match had gone longer. Yeah. That's about it.
I'm curious how AJ feels being on that pre-show card too. I'd be really curious to know what his sentiments are. But
given the type of person that AJ Styles is,
yeah.
I'm sure that he was perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
AJ Styles is probably one of the most humble people that I have ever heard about.
Sure.
So for him to say, I'm on the pre-show, awesome. I'm still on the show. Mm-hmm. I'm the United States champion. Awesome. I have a championship. Great. Right? Yeah. So from what I have seen of who AJ Styles is, I don't think he cares at all. This was perfectly fine for him.
Going from that, Carl, we had for the Raw Tag Team Championship. This, of course, is the first match of the full-on show here. We had the current tag team champion, well, at the time, the current tag team champions, Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman versus Robert Roode. I still can't really get used to calling him Robert Roode. I used to call him Bobby Roode. And Dolph Ziggler. This was another bit of a weird one for me, and I think this has to do with these thrown together WWE tag teams with Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman is what I'm speaking of. If you watch this match, of course these two were set to have a match later on in the evening. It was really odd watching two guys that were going to be in a match being a tag team together, and when you watch the mannerism of the other person in the corner watching the action happening in the ring, Seth especially was really kind of overselling and really kind of overreacting and smiling and go, yay, on that kind of stuff. In that position, it felt really kind of disjointed and took me out of that whole thing. It felt like they were really trying to overdo that part of that.
I would have to agree to a certain point.
Odd.
I mean, this was just. I think Seth Rollins. I mean, he went into it knowing that they were dropping those tag belts. Like that was just
we saw that
right.
Coming,
Everybody could see that. We knew that was going to happen. We talked about this on the last podcast as well, right? Whether it was going to be a screw job or what have you, which none of that actually happened, which was actually pretty cool. I'm glad that didn't happen, but I don't know if this was just like a joke to AJ or to Seth Rollins. But yeah, like you could definitely see that he was just like, yeah, whatever. No, I don't care. Whatever.
The match itself, I thought was actually quite good. It was just all the psychology and the little subtle stuff kind of going on underneath the surface that took me out of it.
Yeah, the match itself was great.
Yeah,
and
fun,
I think Seth Rollins was the only thing in that entire match that really took away from it. Braun Strowman, you could see, like he looked like he was really into things. He looked like because they built up this whole, he wants to keep a championship belt and he doesn't care if it's the tag.
Right.
So he was like really like putting his arm out there, come tag me, really hyping Seth Rollins up and really trying to get him going and stuff like that, right? So, it came across as Braun Strowman being very genuine in his attempt to try to get that tag and try to get Seth Rollins to really revive so that, they could win this match. Mm-hmm. And then you had Seth Rollins that just looked like he was doing a job.
Yeah. To a certain extent, I would definitely agree with that. Again, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler winning the match, I thought that part was really cool. Just as I said, the little intricate stuff there that maybe not so much that the average or the casual person's picking up on, but as podcasters and as lifelong wrestling fans and people who analyze this stuff, it really stands out to me.
It definitely does. You know what? This pairing of Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler, I'm loving it.
I dig it too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So going from that to, at least for myself, I'm not sure what Carl's feelings are going to be on this one, but I thought this was another weird match for the evening, and not so much just the match itself. It was the shortest match of the evening at 3 minutes 45 seconds, which is an issue in itself. My big issue with this, Carl, is Bayley's entrance.
Why? Explain that.
I will explain. Bayley is a heel, correct?
Yeah.
And she's coming out to her babyface music. As she's walking down the ramp, she's still high-fiving the fans and still has the wacky waving arm inflatable 2 men guys going. This is not behavior from a heel wrestler, Carl.
Why not?
Because she's a heel. She's not a babyface. But she's acting like a baby.
Clown came out to clown music.
Yeah, but you could tell beneath the surface that there was still an evil guy there, right?
True.
This doesn't work with Bayley whatsoever.
Who you're talking about? Bayley high-fiving people. Who did she high-five?
Her super fan and a couple of the other people.
And what were they all wearing?
Her same outfit.
That's right.
Yeah. That's not something that a heel does.
Absolutely no one else.
A heel like goes to high five the fans or something and then like fakes them out or, taps them in the forehead or something like that. It just, and you could hear the mixed reaction from the crowd, not just for Bayley, but for Charlotte. People are so confused and don't know which way to go on either of these two at this point. Because Charlotte should be the one who's the heel, and Bayley should be the one that's the good. The roles are backwards here in this particular case. Well, just even when you look at the two, I'm
perfectly fine with it. I think Charlotte is doing just fine, doing whatever she's doing right now, and I think that Bayley is doing a perfect job right now of being this heel character that is still, she still has her fans. So she's making sure that her fans are acknowledged. I would do the same thing. I did do the same thing. I was the extreme Canadian Carl Karafel. When I wrestled in the United States, if there was somebody there that was wearing something Canada, I would high five them. Of course I would.
But even just
if somebody was there and they started screaming at me, I would ignore them. Or I would go up to them and then I would do that little heel thing. But nobody was screaming at Bayley. Nobody was making fun of Bayley. Nobody was doing any of that.
At the very least, that music. If they're gonna do an extended run with her as a heel, they need to change that music up. That's not music that a heel comes out to. That's like happy-go-lucky kind of sounding music. A heel or a bad guy or a bad girl in this case doesn't come out to happy up music. That's just not the way it goes.
Sami Zayn. Zayn.
I don't think that works for him either.
Happy-go-lucky up music. He's a heel right now.
Yeah,
it works.
Yeah, I disagree.
Well, he's still got the same music. Why does he need to change the music?
Yeah,
everything it's working. He's a heel, and it's working.
Yeah, hey, that's the old school wrestling fan with me. For me, the music is such an important part in your character, and if you're going to become a bad guy or a bad girl, you got to change it up to match that mood there. And I think that with Bayley, at least, that keeping that same music just for me doesn't work.
Well, sorry about your damn luck. Yeah.
So yeah, Bayley getting the win over Charlotte Flair. Less than 4 minutes for this match. This overall just didn't do anything for me. Really didn't do anything for me. I thought that they could have done so much more with this.
You know what? They could have. Definitely they could have. But again, we're talking about and you're seeing Bayley as the heel that is all uppity. This is just one extra little nugget of information in this grander scheme of things that Bayley was able to go out there, defeat the Queen, Charlotte Flair, in less than 4 minutes. That makes her a little bit more dominant than some of these other people, which is just kind of adding a little bit more fuel to the fire for Bayley and allowing her to kind of open up more to this heel persona that she's got going on.
All I will say is if they're going to continue, at the very least, put some angry faces on those inflatable 2 men. All I'm going to say. Okay, going from that to our other tag team match for the evening, we had the Revival versus the New Day, being represented by Big E and Xavier Woods. Again, this is a really good, solid tag team match. Probably one of my better ones for the evening. It's always fun to watch Big E in the ring. I don't know exactly what your feelings on Big E, Carl, but whenever he gets a chance to work like that in the ring, I'm happy.
With any of these 4 guys, I'm happy to see them in the ring.
Yep.
Even if we see a months-long matches with these 4 guys,
Yep.
I would be okay with that. They all know how to work so well in that ring. They have just a little bit of a different contrasting style to them. We're talking New Day with all of this, new school type of activity and hype and stuff around them. And then you've got the Revival, who is a lot more old school. And I mean that they all just work together so well. I'm so happy with not only the match, but the outcome of this match as well. And just everything about it just really spoke tag team wrestling to me.
For sure. And when I look at everything else that we're going through in this particular show, this is actually my match of the evening, believe it or not. So that's the one that I enjoyed the most.
Wow.
Having said that, now I'm going to bring up something that we actually had as an individual topic originally for this podcast, Carl. I think I'll bring it in at this point because there was some stuff going on and whatnot. Corey Graves. I don't know what your feelings are on him right now, Carl, or even our listeners. I'm at the point now, I can't stand this guy in commentary. It's awful.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's awful, but I think that him and Renee Young really need to either have a sit down or something, but they really need to kind of get on the same page. And they need to realize that they're not the head commentators. Corey Graves, you are not. Corey Graves, I'm talking to you right now.
All right.
Corey Graves.
We're talking to you.
Are not Corey Graves. You are not the head commentator.
Yeah.
Please get that into your head and understand that you are not the head commentator. That's what I have to say on that. Corey Graves just overtalks people all the time. It's very frustrating. I mean, Corey Graves, stop it.
I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to do the Jesse the Body Ventura angle, but you're not coming off as just somebody who's taking jabs at the other person. The way that he's doing it, you're just coming across as a dick. And
I was going to say jerk,
and it's making Renee look bad because she doesn't know how to come back to that stuff. So of course they're feeding her stuff, and we mentioned it before. It comes across as 2 old people fighting over a little cup of pills at the old folks' home. That's totally how the 2 of these and the dynamic and the way that they go about it. That's how it comes across. And as somebody who's watching the stuff, that part of it, it's a turnoff. When I hear that going on, I'll keep it on, but I'll put it on mute because I don't want to hear that crap anymore. It's just terrible.
There were a couple of times, I can't remember exactly what they were, what was said or anything like that, but the wife was actually watching the show with me last night, and there were a couple of times where commentary had happened, and she actually snickered, and she's like, that was good.
Yeah.
And she laughed at some of it, right? But that was only like twice throughout the entire show that she had said something positive because something had come across a little funny. Everything else, she was kind of sitting there going like, does he ever shut up?
Yeah, really. Yeah. It's one of those things I think that I don't know what you can honestly do at that point, at this point with that whole thing. Because I mean, they're kind of stuck with who they have. Maybe like you said, just sit them down and be like, hey, do what you're told to do. And I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird thing. It comes across so bad, and it doesn't feel natural. It's just bad all the way around. I don't know who else you can bring in there, or just cut it down to maybe 2 people. But just it's too crowded there too. I think the 3-person booth in WWE I don't think works anymore. I think they need to go back to 2.
And you know what sucks about this entire thing?
Yeah.
Is that we had to listen to Corey Graves the entire night.
Yeah.
Because he was calling for both Raw and SmackDown.
Yep. Well, I agree. So, back to the card here, Carl. Next up we had Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville for the Women's Tag Team Championship. For me, the big standout here, and I don't know what was kind of going on here, but I don't know if maybe Alexa Bliss had maybe some kind of injury or something, but Nikki Cross, kind of the hero of this match here.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were looking for.
She got a chance to showcase, and fans are clearly digging it, and she even got the pinfall for the win. Now, typically when something like this happens, when the other person has to kind of carry the majority of it, I don't know if it means that maybe she has some kind of little minor injury that they're trying to protect, but yeah, this was Nikki Cross's match.
There is absolutely no injury or issues with Alexa Bliss that I'm aware of right now.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that this is something that they have been looking to do for a while, and that is showcase what Nikki Cross can actually do. And this was the perfect opportunity to do it, considering the little feud that's been going on with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville throughout this entire program with the four of them.
Yeah.
To now have Nikki Cross go out there, be the majority player in the matchup, and to get the win is huge and monumental and speaks of volumes to what they are trying to do with Nikki Cross.
Mm-hmm, for sure. So going from that to another kind of odd one for me here, and this one definitely didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. Shinsuke Nakamura with Sami Zayn at ringside versus The Miz for the Intercontinental title. At least it wasn't on the pre-show like we had possibly predicted there. This is an odd one. First of all, I will say this, when they had Sammy with the microphone out on the outside, that didn't work for me. And once again, Shinsuke Nakamura, what has happened to him since coming into NXT with all this fanfare and that match that he had with Sami Zayn, that just it had that real kind of aura and that coolness factor of it. Man, this guy is about as cool as you can possibly get when it comes to being in the top company in the world. This guy's got nothing.
I am so happy with what Sami Zayn was doing on the outside with that microphone.
Yeah.
That, to me, went back to old school Jimmy Hart with the megaphone screaming and talking to his guys. That's exactly what it reminded me of, and I was so happy with it happening. Could he have brought it back a little bit and not been consistent on that microphone? Yes. Yeah. Should they have turned that microphone off? No, I don't think they should have. They should have let him continue doing that. Why not? If Sami Zayn is not able to get into the ring or do whatever right now, have him be this like Jimmy Hart type of guy who goes out there with his man, right? And starts doing like it worked for Jimmy Hart back in the day. Why can't this work for Sami Zayn? I think it definitely can, and I think it was a great disservice to turn that microphone off.
This is one of those things where we definitely disagree on. I think that worked for certain people in certain circumstances, but it just didn't feel necessary in this case. Like I mentioned, for me, the bigger thing, though, is Shinsuke Nakamura. I really wish that Miz could have gotten the win in this because I think he's be a much greater Intercontinental champion. Nakamura just fallen so flat lately. And not just recently, just since coming up to this main roster, just hasn't done really anything for me at all, and it's a damn shame because I'm a big fan of the guy.
I've heard rumors, and I'm thinking that this could be something that is true. I'm hearing rumors that Shinsuke Nakamura's contract is coming to an end, and that he has had talks with the WWE saying, I think I need to go back to New Japan Pro.
I think he does.
And I think the reason why they are now throwing this belt at him and trying to give him this little push is for them to go, no, we have stuff for you. Here's a championship. Here's Sami Zayn. You don't need to do any talking. We'll hype you up. We'll make you a big star, just so that they can keep him, so that he signs another contract.
Yeah, who knows, man? He's getting up there in age too, so he could be in that AJ Styles kind of scenario too, where this could be maybe his last wrestling contract. So time will tell with that one. I'm disappointed with the outcome. I would have much preferred Miz get the title back on him.
I think if they play things right, they can really make things work for Shinsuke Nakamura and Sami Zayn. They just need to let Sami Zayn be Sami Zayn. And I think that, I think he can totally rock this whole manager type role. Yeah. But they have to let him do it. Yeah. That's the thing. Now, Sami Zayn, I'm talking to you right now. You did phenomenally with that microphone on the outside. you just went a little too overboard.
Yeah.
Okay, dude. From one Canadian to another, man, you went a little overboard with it.
Yeah.
Tone it down, bring it back a little bit, and you will have gold.
With Nakamura, we just have to look at the rest of them. I just don't trust WWE creative with their Asian talent at this point. Don't trust them. Every other one they've misused and are really doing nothing with. Asuka, I know that we're not necessarily fans of her, but one of their main women Asian talents, not even on television. Kairi Sane, they seem to have seemingly given up on her. Yeah, they just I don't know what it is. They don't seem to work well with the Asian wrestlers. Some kind of culture gap or what's going on there? I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either. And I mean, with Shinsuke Nakamura, like, the guy is more talented than most of the guys on the roster's big toes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's amazing to me that they are kind of, I guess, essentially dropping the ball when it comes to Shinsuke Nakamura. So much talent in that guy. I wish that they would, let him showcase himself a little bit more. Go to maybe a little bit of that strong style, the Japanese strong style, and kind of work with that a little bit more and showcase what he has done in New Japan Pro inside a North American ring. Like you said, though, I don't know if it's a disconnect between the cultures or anything like that, but I don't know. It's really weird. I mean, they have gold here with Shinsuke Nakamura, and I hope that they really maybe turn things around a little bit and do some good stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. So going from that, we had the other women's title match between Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch. This was pretty good for the most part. I'm really torn on the outcome of it, though. I get it, but at the same time, it was after a 20-minute match to kind of end that way. Yeah, I was a little bit bummed.
I wasn't at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. And it felt too, and I get they do this with the Becky Lynch character once in a while. But again, we had Sasha, who is the bad guy, and we have Becky, who is usually the good guy, but can be kind of a bit of a tweener there, getting the disqualification on this. So it was, to me, that just the roles felt a little bit reversed there, but overall a pretty decent match.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that they kind of reversed the roles at all with anything. I mean, Sasha Banks tried using that chair on Becky Lynch first.
Yep, I get it.
You even as a good person, if somebody tries to come after you with a chair, what are you going to do? You're going to retaliate. Mm-hmm. You're not just going to stand there and be like, "Oh, dude, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay that you just tried to hit me with this steel chair. It's perfectly fine. Thank you for that." No, you're going to be like, "Screw you. You tried to come at me. Yeah. I don't care how good of a person I am. I'm going to grab that chair and I'm going to make sure that you're not coming after me anymore."
Yeah.
That's exactly, in my view anyways, that's exactly what happened. So then Becky Lynch gets disqualified for it.
Yep. Totally
understood. But I don't even put all of that. The highlight of this entire thing for me was after this match, where they continued to fight. They took it into the stands. They took it to the crowds. They took it up the stairs. They took it to concession. They took it back into the stairs again. They took it, and they were like falling into fans, and fans were loving it. And then they made it back to the ring, and then officials came in, and the crowd was chanting, "Let them fight." Mm-hmm. The crowd was loving it.
Yeah.
Loving this.
True.
And I was loving it too.
Yeah. I've been, since she's gone to this character with the Becky Lynch and the man thing, and right from the beginning, I wasn't a big fan of this because I feel too much like they're just trying to get her to be the female Stone Cold and trying to copy him too much, even with these promos for the new game now, where they have her giving him the stunner and whatnot. I get it, but at the same time, it feels like they just let Becky be Becky instead of trying to make her into this female Stone Cold character. I know it works for some people, but for me, it still feels a little strange. And them going into the crowd and stuff and whatnot. This goes back to a topic that we had I don't know how many episodes ago of repeating stuff during the same shows. But when you do this going out into the crowd and the hardcore stuff in a match that wasn't even a no DQ match, to have a no DQ match later, when we're doing multiple of the same things in different matches, it gets a little bit repetitive. And I think that people weren't as into this Roman Reigns match, which we're going to talk about later, as much as they could have been hadn't they done this stuff earlier.
I think you were totally off base with that entire thing. So you are thinking way too much into this. Way too much into this.
I don't like seeing repetition on the same show, man.
There's repetition on every show. There's a pinfall 1, 2, 3
I understand.
on every show.
There's
a roll up on every show. There's a super kick multiple times on every show. It happens.
Yeah.
And so because these two now are super pissed off at each other, and it's been evident over the last 3 weeks that they've been building up to this program, for it to explode the way that it did was perfect. And people are going to complain because, they did a no DQ match on the show, so I think it took nothing away from it, damn it. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
I think you are definitely looking way too far into this. And I don't know, you just need to you need to get rid of your mind for a few minutes here and just maybe go back to the days where you were a fan and enjoyed watching the show. I think if you were to do that, and not just you, Big Joe, but I'm talking anybody who has kind of those same sentiments, stop being so overcritical with crap and just be a fan and watch the show as a fan. Be happy about what you're seeing these people put their bodies through day in and day out for you without being so critical about it.
Hey, it's our job to be critical, and with WWE and as disjointed things are, I mean, I've stated before, I will not sugarcoat, and I will call things exactly the way that I see them.
That's right, and I totally get that. And I mean, unfortunately, like you said, that's the way that you're seeing them. Right. I'm seeing them in a totally different light.
Virtually.
I think that everything was perfectly done when it came to this blow up of things with Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch. And like it culminated into a fight, which is exactly the way that I would have loved to see it. And that's exactly what happened. I was so happy with it.
Like I mentioned before, with virtually every other professional wrestling company in the world out there, I can sit back and enjoy as a fan because just the matches usually feel a lot better. The storylines either aren't overdone or don't feel really odd. With WWE, it's like you kind of hinted at there. I'm conditioned to kind of go in almost with a negative mindset because they've programmed me that way. They've had me down for so long that, I'm critical on them, and I'm brutally honest.
So these other companies that you talk about that you seem to be okay with and stuff like that, how long have they really been around for?
Yeah, that's true. And
then we're talking the WWE that has been the global force in sports entertainment, as they claim, for over 50 years.
Yep.
I mean, even television shows like The Young and the Restless that have been on forever repeat stuff.
Yep.
Because you're not able to continue to write new stuff all the time. You gotta rehash something once in a while to get something that's going to, appease to the fans. Yeah. And this is exactly something that I think went out there and appeased to the fans.
So next up, Carl, we had for the WWE Championship, we had Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton. What did you think?
Yeah.
This didn't do much for you?
It really didn't. I mean,
I'm right there with you on this one.
They've even hyped it up that 10 years now these guys have been 10-year rivalry and 10 years this and 10 years that. You're right. I've seen it over and over and over again for 10 years. I get it. I get it. Kofi Kingston, he's the talk of the town now. He's gone out there. He defeated Randy Orton. Again. Yeah. Yep. Very cool. Very cool to see. I don't mind Kofi as the champ. It's cool. Would I like to have seen Randy Orton with the belt again? Sure. At some point, I would love to see that before he's finally done and retired. Give him just another little run with the championship would be cool in my eyes. But just a typical match. I mean, I think it played out exactly as it should have. Both guys went out there, gave it their all. I think it was a really decent match. Everything was spot on, like it should be with these two. It was just a regular match. It was typical.
Yeah. Do you think that this over and over of Randy not being able to beat a guy like Kofi Kingston, does that damage him at all? Because I think it does a little bit.
I don't think it does at all. Not at all.
Yeah. It's one of those tough things where it's like having Rey Mysterio over. I know this is maybe kind of going maybe a little too far with it, but it's like having Rey Mysterio being the Big Show, right? Where you have a guy like Kofi who is a much smaller dude. I know Randy's not the biggest guy out there, but you know, with the prestige that he has and all the championships, to not be able to get a win over little Kofi Kingston, it's it makes it tough to for him to have a case for having another title shot.
Maybe not. I mean, look at Ric Flair. Ric Flair went out there and did that numerous times.
Yeah.
Numerous times. He went out there and he wasn't always the biggest guy out there, but he'd win. And then there were times where he was out there and he lost and he lost and he lost and he lost. And then, wait, what? Yeah. He holds the most World Heavyweight Championship title reigns? Really? So, I mean, does this damage Randy Orton? Not at all.
Yeah.
Randy Orton has proven himself more than once, time and time again, that he is the Viper. He is the guy. So because he's having an off time, doesn't mean that he's damaged.
Yeah. I just feel that at this point now, especially coming into what's going to be, we mentioned this deal with Fox and SmackDown, I really feel that at this point, Randy should be the biggest heel champion in the company. And that would be such a great position for him.
Yeah, you know what? Definitely. I agree with that. Does it have to happen before we go to Fox? No, it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Why can't it happen after we go to Fox? Because now you're going to hype people up with Kofi Kingston and get people to start watching the show on Friday nights on Fox because he's the guy that's, you know, he's super hyper. He's out there. He's, you know, flamboyant and all of this stuff. He's the hype man. He's got it all. And that's what's going to bring people in. And then they're going to start seeing, oh, wait, he's having this feud thing with this Randy Orton guy. Hey, wait, I kind of like this Randy Orton. Oh, my God, did Randy Orton just win that World Heavyweight Championship belt? Man, the bad guy won. And then you're going to have people excited because the bad guy won. Or you're going to have people pissed off because the bad guy won. And then they're going to want to watch to see the good guy win the belt back from the bad guy. It's all logistics, man.
Yeah. Yep, we shall see who's going to, going into that, who's going to be the champion and who's going to be the bigger draw. Because, I mean, this is definitely going to get some more attention from people who are mainly just sports fans. You know, I'll even go as far as, when we post this episode on social media here, if you're more of a sports fan who's just kind of an occasional wrestling fan, who would you rather see be the WWE champion going into Fox? Would you like to see Kofi Kingston or would you like to see Randy Orton? Let us know what you think.
Yeah, guys, hit us up on all of our social medias at TB Talk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Let us know.
Absolutely. So let's get through these next couple matches here, Hogs. We do have a few more things that we want to get to before our showstopper this week. I think we're running a little bit long this week, but that's fine. We had Eric Rowan versus Roman Reigns in that no disqualification match that we made reference to earlier. And yeah, this is what you would expect from a no DQ match. Definitely not the outcome that I would have expected because I felt there's only kind of one way to go with this, but we saw somebody come back kind of out of nowhere, so to speak. And I mean kind of out of nowhere because this guy, most of what I was seeing was basically done. We had Luke Harper coming out of nowhere. All the reports were saying that this guy was on the verge of being done with the company, and now, boom, makes his presence known. Sorry.
And I am so happy that Luke Harper is back. And I mean, not even just because he came out and helped Eric Rowan defeat Roman Reigns. Yes, people, you heard that right. Eric Rowan defeated Roman Reigns, the big dog. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Luke Harper has so much talent.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that he's able to come back and, work with the company and give us some good wrestling again. This guy really knows how to work in the ring. He's got that big size. He's got that presence to him. He's got almost that little bit of a crazy type of look and demeanor to him. It just works, and I'm so happy about it. But yeah, the match itself, typical no disqualification match. You saw tables breaking. You saw, all of this stuff happening on the outside. Very typical. It wasn't anything hardcore, which I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Totally okay with. It's not like they started pulling out kendo sticks and tables and chairs and ladders and all of this type of stuff. They just had a good no DQ match.
Yeah.
Worked fine for me. But again, this match should not have been on this pay-per-view. There was no championship in this, and that is what Clash of Champions or Night of Champions should be, is just championship matches.
I agree. And to end off the evening, we had, for the WWE Universal Championship, we had Seth Rollins versus Braun Strowman. For me, the big highlight of this wasn't so much the match. It was a decent match. It was your typical Braun Strowman match. I thought, it was a really well-worked match. It wasn't too long, wasn't too short. Braun worked a really good big man style match. Some cool stuff in there. But, of course, the big highlight is once the match is done and Seth Rollins is on the ramp, the Fiend makes his presence known. And I think we can assume at this point that he is coming for that Universal Championship.
I definitely agree with you there. Everything about this match was good. It was a typical Braun Strowman type of match. It was actually a typical Seth Rollins type of match as well.
Absolutely.
The two of these guys really work together so well. Seth Rollins defeating Braun Strowman, which I'm so pissed off about. I mean, I want Braun Strowman to have that championship. I want Braun Strowman to be world or universal champion. Please, at some point, this needs to happen. But the ending of this match, like you talked about, up on the ramp, we see the lights go out, and I'm sitting there with the wife, and I'm going, oh my God, is this Taker? Or is this Bray Wyatt? Who is it? And then we find out that it was the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Amazing. And it just the lights and the sounds and everything that was going on with it. And then to see him give Seth Rollins the Sister Abigail and then just standing over top of him at the end. It was just so well done.
One question for you at the very, very end of that with the mandible claw. I like that he's taken that as kind of almost like that second kind of finishing move. Did you feel that part was overdone, like a little bit oversold, or was that spot on?
Spot on.
Yeah.
To me, spot on. I don't think it was oversold. I mean,
it felt a little much to me. Like, I don't think he had to be doing all that. That felt a little too extreme there for me.
That's Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
That I've come to expect that with Seth Rollins. So for me, that it's not that was too much, but I'm seeing that's Seth Rollins. That's all.
Because I think back to Joey Janela selling the paper cut thing, where we felt that was overdone, right? And for me, I didn't think that was overdone. For me, I think he went a little too much before, but it didn't take away from the moment. So I will give him a pass on that one.
Good.
So going from that, Carl, to before we get to actually an interesting topic for this week, talk a little bit of NXT stuff here, which was actually kind of cool. They actually did a little promo during the show for NXT, which they never do, which has always been mind-boggling to me, but they were definitely promoting NXT. Now, a couple interesting things coming up with NXT regarding two names. First one, Johnny Gargano. Yeah, it looks like they wanted to bring him up to either Raw or SmackDown, but he is going to be staying in NXT, and I am perfectly fine with that.
Me too.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, would Johnny Gargano fit on either Raw or SmackDown? Yeah, he definitely would.
Yep.
But you're taking NXT and moving it to the USA Network. Do you really want to take one of your biggest draws in NXT right now and take him off of that show?
Bingo, yeah. Now, another name that looks like might be going back over to I want to say SmackDown to NXT, and this is one that I'm really, really happy and would be very cool with, Kevin Owens. I would love to see a match between him and Adam Cole. That raises another question, too, with Adam Cole being the current WWE NXT champion going into this deal with USA TV and 205 Live basically being integrated into NXT. I think that we need to get that belt on another guy because Adam Cole is in cruiserweight territory. So this could be a little bit of a strange thing when you have the 205 cruiserweight guys over there, and then you have a guy who's the NXT champion who is a cruiserweight.
I think at this point, what they've really done, though, is that with the cruiserweights, it's not going to be just relegated to those that are under 205 pounds.
Okay.
The belt is going to be just like another championship title belt that's being defended against guys of similar size.
If that's the case, you need to change the name of it.
And they might. I mean, I don't know at this point what's going to happen with it, but from reports that I've read is that it's not going to have those like big different stipulations of, you know, you have to be under 205 and blah, 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 and this and that or whatever, right? It's just going to, you know, kind of be another belt that's on there that's going to hopefully get a little bit more showcase because it's now going to be on like national television. Having to change the holder of the NXT Heavyweight Championship. Rey Mysterio held the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
So where's the difference?
Yeah, there's certain people, I guess you can suspend your disbelief there. But with the cruiserweight title itself, I really think if you're going to go, especially the angle that you're pitching there, I think you take that and you unify that with the North American title and just make one, maybe just go with the North American title. If you're going to open it up to people over the weight limit, then I think you have to make a change there, because then I won't say that doesn't take away from the credibility of that championship, but then it doesn't become a true cruiserweight championship title.
And again, you're looking way too much into this. It's not like they're going to be having a 350-pound guy working for the cruiserweight championship. Yeah. They're just not going to be like focusing on underneath this weight limit is all that it is. Right. So they're going to have guys of the same size, the same stature, going for that championship belt, just without a weight limit stipulation.
Yeah, we'll see what they choose to do with it. I just want it to be good, because obviously when we heard the news about this, our immediate concern was for NXT being good. So I hope that it ends up being good, and that hopefully this 205 thing will help facilitate that too.
I hope so as well. And we need to consider as well that NXT is going to be going to 2 hours on the USA Network, as opposed to the 1 hour that they were given on the WWE Network. So to add in now all the cruiserweights in there as well is not only going to allow the cruiserweights to be able to showcase what they can do against the cruiserweight champion and against the North American champion, right? Yeah. You're going to have these guys that are able to now from NXT be able to go and face off against other cruiserweight or 205 Live superstars. So it's really going to open things up for all of them, and I think it's going to be a very good positive.
I hope so, because I'm still very much on the fence with it going to 2 hours. I really felt with that 1 hour, that was such a sweet spot for sitting down and watching a wrestling show. I mean, that's how long Ring of Honor is and whatnot. So going to 2 hours, I just hope that we don't start seeing too many backstage stuff and vignettes and stuff and whatnot. So that's another one of my fears. Damn, I love that hour time slot. That's perfect amount of time to sit down, watch some good wrestling, and then get out.
Yeah, you know what? I totally get where you're coming from. Yeah. Again, I think that's the reason why they're bringing the cruiserweight or the 205 stars over as well, because both shows were an hour long. So now you've got 2 hours to fill. Let's use all the capable superstars that we've got and put on a good 2-hour show.
Because damn, man, it's going to start getting crowded here. When AEW starts airing weekly, we're going to have that to watch. If AXS TV becomes available in Canada, we're going to have a really good way to watch Impact and possibly New Japan again. And who knows, maybe Women of Wrestling, maybe they'll get a major platform to be on, and we'll have that to watch too. It's getting really crowded closer to the top here, so...
Yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of damn wrestling to watch, and I just hope that it's all good.
I hope so too.
That's my only thing. So before we do our Showstopper segment this week, Carl, I dug up something here that I'm hoping that you had a chance to read it, because it actually goes back on something that we had hinted back a fair ways back, and I think it was when we had our own Ryan K. Bowman on, and this has to do basically with labor rights and whatnot when it comes to wrestlers here, and a specific bill that is said to be at least discussed or passed or whatnot over in California. It's called Bill AB5, and this basically, to kind of give you the short version of this, they want wrestlers in a professional wrestling company to essentially be employees. Now, this is an idea. Now, we can get into more detail, but my big thing with this is that this works for a big company or a big conglomerate like a WWE, like a New Japan, maybe AEW to a certain extent, to provide healthcare and pensions and whatnot for these wrestlers. But when we start going down the ladder to, say, like Ring of Honor, to, say, like Impact, and then, down to like CWE here in Canada, Ignite Wrestling with Kim Artlip down in Florida, they could go bankrupt if something like this gets put into place and then starts to spread. That's the concern.
Yeah, I mean, it is a definite concern. I mean, there's always going to be ways to kind of go around this. Myself, I am an independent security professional. Mm-hmm. I own my security license,
correct,
which means that I can go and work for any company that I want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I say any company I want, I mean that in Ontario, because that's where my license is, I can go and work for 6 different security companies if I want to. And I am employed by all 6 of these security companies. I think it's going to be essentially the same thing. You can be employed casual work with Ignite Wrestling. You can be employed casual work with House of Hardcore. You can be employed casual work with Ring of Honor. That's all it is. It's you have casual work. You're an employee on a casual basis.
Yeah. And, especially when you start getting up to these more notable names, not necessarily in WWE, they get paid a significant amount of change. And I understand that the argument for some of these people, when we've heard of some of these names of people who have really, had issues like draws, for example, the guy's basically paralyzed. And some of these people that have had issues happen, whether it be things that they're choosing to do themselves, with drugs and alcohol and whatnot, you can make the argument for, labor rights, like pensions and healthcare and that kind of stuff. Some of these guys are getting paid a significant amount of money to do this stuff, though. So it more comes down to just as an independent contractor to be able to manage that. And we see it in sports too, and famous people forgetting to pay their taxes and whatnot. So these are all things that you're responsible as an independent contractor to do yourself. And if things are going wrong in that respect, you really got nobody to blame but yourself for not managing things properly.
Exactly. I mean, I fully agree with that. I do kind of want to touch on, you're talking about the whole healthcare and stuff like that. Even here where we are, if you're a part-time employee, there normally is not part-time benefits.
Typically, yes. Yeah, that's correct.
If you're a casual employee, there typically is never any casual benefits that are available. Benefits are available for full-time employees for the majority. I have worked where I've been able to pay into part-time benefits. Cool. Awesome. Thank you very much to the companies that allowed me to do that. But in this instance, I mean, that's all that they really have to do. They just have to go through and allow that the agreement and that the employment agreement says that it is casual work. Right. And therefore, if it's casual work, there is no need for health care in the casual position.
Right.
There's always ways around it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think this is a topic that, amongst fans and pundits and analysts and stuff like that, it's really definitely not everybody feels the same way. I would say it's split pretty 50-50. If people who like the idea and think that's a good thing, or people that are just flat out against it. For me, I actually kind of find myself kind of somewhere in the middle, and I think you're almost kind of on that same wavelength there, Carl. That I like the idea of it, but it doesn't necessarily work in every case.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, you're right. It doesn't work in every case. And I mean, even if like you're talking about this stuff maybe being, pushed into other states and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the way to get around things. If it does happen, don't sweat it. Yeah. Find the workaround and go around it. That's about the best advice that I can give on that.
Yeah, that's good sound advice. I would agree. All right, Carl, I think we're going to take a bit of a brief break here, and we're going to come back with, I think it should be an interesting Showstopper segment this week, and it's going to revolve the women's evolution, specifically in WWE and whatnot, and how we feel that things have been going so far with that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. This week's episode is brought to you by Collar & Elbow. Go to collarandelbowbrand.com where you can get 10% off when using promo code JKPodcast at the checkout, including this week's featured product, the Who'd You Ever Beat t-shirt. All right, guys, Big Joe and Carl Carafell back here on Turnbuckle Talk.
Yes, we are, guys, and we are at that great time in our show. We are at our Showstopper Segment. Yeah.
So this week, Carl, I think we're going to have a bit of an interesting discussion here, and this has to do with the women's evolution. I'll be mainly talking in WWE when it comes to this. So we can touch on the other promotions and how they're doing with this as well if we want to. But mainly in WWE, we want to discuss how we feel that the women's evolution has been going, whether it's been a success, whether it's been a flop, or whether it's fallen somewhere in the middle. You want me to go first on this, Carl, or do you want to give your take on it first?
I want to give the take of a listener first, actually. So I was having a discussion with someone else today about the pay-per-view, and this person said that he feels that the women are just kind of falling apart, and that, there isn't as much of a, not necessarily a push, but there isn't. Just give me 2 seconds here. I mean,
yep.
He asked how, he said that he didn't really like the pay-per-view a whole lot, too much. Mm-hmm. I said, you know what, it had some good points and it wasn't all bad. He was a little upset that 2 belts changed hands. Or only 2 belts changed hands. So he was looking for a little bit more to change hands. What is it? I don't care.
Carl providing his own soundtrack this week, by the way.
He said that he enjoyed the women's matches, and I said I did too. I liked how they allowed Becky and Sasha to go all over the place. That was pretty cool. He says, I think to step up the women's division, they need to ride with the 4 horsewomen thing again. And I said, you know what, like it would be cool, but I don't think that the 2 MMA girls from NXT are really up to it yet to be able to come up and do that. And he says he understands. He thinks it sucks. He says, I just feel they don't care about the women as much as they did anymore. Which I kind of retorted with him, and I said, I don't think that it's that. I think that they're just not throwing it in our face as much as they did in the beginning. I don't see that it's really declining from where it has come from with the whole evolution thing. I think that they're just not throwing it at us every 30 minutes like they have been before. Was it a good thing? I think it was a phenomenal thing here for the evolution. Was it, like a waste or anything like that? I really don't think so. Was it a flop? No. Was it a success? I definitely, yeah, I think it was a success. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts, and those are thoughts from a listener as well. So now,
Nice.
Joe, what are your thoughts?
I write somewhere in the middle, as I tend to do on some of these kind of topics here. I won't say that it's been a total flop, and I won't say that's been a total success either. My issue kind of stems more from when this whole women's evolution started, that I felt that they tried to do too much too quickly. You know, getting all these landmark things done, like the first women's elimination chamber and Hell in a Cell. It felt like they tried to cram so much of that into a short period of time, that I felt that they almost kind of ran out of steam. You know, when we look at this show, the shortest match on the card is a women's match between Bayley and Charlotte Flair. It should be two of the marquee women's wrestlers in the company. Shortest match of the whole show. So it felt like they did too much too quick, and then now we're running out of ideas because we just did too much.
Yeah, I would have to disagree.
Okay.
I mean, I think that they're still continuing on and doing good things. Sure, because one match was short. Now we're gonna crap all over everything.
No, but
that's just crazy to think.
I just felt that
time constraints and stuff like that. I mean, you had all these championship matches being defended on this show. What was the big one? The big one was Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
20-minute match, ends in no disqualification. They're showcased going through the entire arena, beating the crap out of each other, with the crowd at the end, again, as I mentioned before, chanting, "Let them fight." That was the big highlight. And it was the women. They weren't saying, "Let them fight" to, the main event of the match for the Universal Championship. They weren't chanting, "Let them fight" after that. They weren't chanting, "Let them fight" when, the Fiend came out. They were chanting, yes. They were very happy and vocal about Bray Wyatt coming out. But who got the biggest pop out of all of that? It was the women.
Yeah.
So just because one match on the show was short.
Oh no. It's not just the show. Like I said, my bigger issue was I think they tried to get too many of those firsts, like those first big moments, like the first women's WrestleMania match, first Elimination Chamber match, Hell in a Cell match, and all that. I think that they tried to get too many of those first milestone things happening too quickly. I think that they could have spread it over a much bigger time and have been a lot more effective than cramming all that stuff from that first year or two and then running out of steam.
But you're saying that they're running out of steam right now.
Because all the firsts have already been accomplished.
So do you figure that they would still have their steam if we're doing the first WrestleMania women's main event happening 4 years from now?
No, I'm just saying that they didn't need to cram all these first milestone things into just that first year or two. I think that they should have spaced it out more.
But that's what I'm saying. Do you think that spacing it out really would have made that much of a difference, or do you think people would have gotten, tired of the novelty of the women all the time, and then these firsts would never have happened?
I think that it would have been better to, and I think you would have had more anticipation as well to let it happen over a longer period of time. Because then there would have been like, well, we're still waiting, for this first Elimination Chamber match. It felt like they rushed too many of those firsts in there right off the bat.
Yeah, and unfortunately, again, or fortunately, I don't know, however you want to look at it, I disagree.
Yeah.
I think that the people would have gotten tired of waiting, because how long have they waited already for these firsts for the women's division?
Because it would have been like, let's say, for example, if they would have already have had, let's rewind the clock, say Ric Flair wrestling in his first 2 years have already been like a 10-time champion. It would have been just like too much in just that short period of time. Whereas him winning all those titles over a long span of time just feels a lot better.
That's right. Okay. But you're comparing, as you like to say, apples to oranges here. We're talking the male wrestler who has been able to go out there and showcase and get absolutely everything.
Yeah.
to the female wrestlers who have been around since the same time that Ric Flair has been there, right, without getting any accomplishments at all.
True. And
so now how much longer do we have to wait for these women who are now getting a push and getting this large boost?
Mm-hmm.
How much longer do we have to wait for these firsts to happen? Are we going to wait another 10, 15, 20 years before these firsts happen? No. Even if it's only 4 or 5 years, people are going to be like, when is this happening already? Mm-hmm. I don't even care now because, I've waited, 40 plus years for this stuff to happen so that they get on the same level as the men. And now I'm still waiting. I don't care anymore. Just whatever.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to wait that long, but I mean, and there's some stuff that's happened because of big names that have left. The two big ones to make note of, AJ Lee and of course now Chris Jericho, that they need to pile up some wins and stuff here to basically erase them from history. Like, obviously, they did that with Nikki Bella. Can't believe that I'm actually mentioning her, but they did that to try and erase AJ Lee from the record books, and now they seem to want to do that with Chris Jericho in the Intercontinental title. So that's something to take into account with this kind of stuff here too. I know slightly kind of off topic there, but I think that those first would have just felt so much more special if they didn't just happen like bang, 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 like right in a row like that. And I think it spaced out over time just makes it feel a lot more special and legendary over time.
And possibly you're right. My view is I think that it would have not gotten over as well as it did, and I think that people would have totally lost interest and been like, we've been asking for this for years and you're still not giving it to us? Come on, we're done.
Yeah, because I mean, to make a reference to, let's say, AEW here, if they try and do too much in this first year, they could run out potentially out of ideas. If they try and do too many firsts and too many of these big matchups and everything right off the bat, you run into the situation where people could lose interest. There's always that
again with that, though,
potential.
I think you're comparing apples to oranges. We're talking, a women's division that's been around forever to a company that's only within its first year.
Yeah, but I mean, when I'm talking the women in WWE, I'm talking more recently. Like I'm not saying I'm throwing out like the early days, but I mean the span of years before, where it was like the bra and panty matches and the pillow fight matches and the chocolate cake and mud matches. Like I'm kind of leaving that aspect of it out. I'm talking women's evolution, like when Bayley, Sasha, and them really started coming to prominence. I'm counting that as the women's evolution era.
No, and I totally understand that. Maybe I'm not clear. I think that this whole women's evolution or revolution or whatever you want to call it should have started years ago.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%.
And now they're making up for it is what's happening. So they're throwing all of these firsts out there because for so long people have been like, what the heck, dude? Yeah. Like, when are you going to actually let these women go out there and do, actual wrestling and be involved in these matches that the men are involved in as well and stuff like that, right? I personally, I don't think that they went too fast with any of it. I'm happy with the way that it's all gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, you disagree, and there's probably others out there that disagree with me as well, and that's perfectly fine because we are all entitled to our opinions, and that's what we love about doing podcasts.
I do get your approach too. If you're taking women's wrestling as a whole, then I can definitely see that perspective for sure. But with the recent, I wish that they could have spaced it a little bit more. But hey, to each their own. To me, it felt a little rushed. Carl is cool with it, and that's just the way it is.
That's right, guys. So that's how it is in the podcasting world. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. But one thing that Big Joe and I can agree on is that we love our gear that we have from Collar and Elbow. You got to go and check out collarandelbowbrand.com, where you can get 10% off your entire purchase when you use promo code JKPodcast at the checkout.
Yeah, absolutely. That was probably one of the best segues of all time there. the way you transitioned over that. That was great. Mm-hmm. All right, Carl. I guess that about wraps it up. Unless the world has turned on its head while we've been recording, but I don't think any breaking news has happened this week. So, having said that, I guess it's about time to wrap it up.
That's right. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, have a good one.
It's me. It's an honor to be the beat. As you can tell in the background, we are out celebrating. That is what we do here at hittingthemarks.com. And I invite everyone to continue to tune in to Turnbuckle Talk, but check out all of our other shows. We have weekly content, especially lit up by the flagship show, Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast. You can find that all at hittingthemarks.com.
Run.